In December of last year, my show did a controversial episode about Genesis. We speculated that a bankruptcy was possible, and about a month later, we were unfortunately correct. Late last night, around midnight, Genesis dropped the end of the week damage control press release to announce their official bankruptcy. And by the time this episode airs, Genesis could have set off another domino or two. We welcome back attorney Aaron Kaplan to help us analyze the implications of this latest bankruptcy in the cryptocurrency space. Aaron, welcome back to the Daily Drop.
Thank you for having me.
Well, look, it's always nice to see you, but I wish it was under better circumstances. But let's start at the beginning here with a little recap. For anyone unfamiliar, can you recap how this Genesis bankruptcy happened?
Genesis and arguably its parent, the Digital Currency Group, had exposure to Three Arrows Capital and then to FTX. And they had issued a yield product called Earn with Gemini. And when the market turned, they were forced to halt withdrawals, which then had the knock-on effect of having Gemini as well halt withdrawals.
Right. And why is the bankruptcy of Genesis so significant?
I think it's because they're a major player in the space, and they're part of the Digital Currency Group conglomerate, who's been a major influence and has their tentacles in a lot of areas in the space.
Yeah, and so you brought up DCG, which is good, because it leads to my next question. Because DCG, Digital Currency Group, their parent company, it's one of the largest oligopolies in the crypto space. So are there worries that they could potentially be vulnerable to bankruptcy themselves?
Again, I don't know any specifics. It just becomes a question of what their exposure is to the underlying issues that Genesis and other potential of their subsidiaries might have.
But this is really the issue, right? It's that we don't really know who's exposed to whom, and you're seeing it's really like a string of bankruptcies at this point where everybody, I think, is going, okay, so who's next to go down? Is that fair?
Well, I think with the bankruptcy filing, what we're going to see is these events come to fruition and we'll have some sort of resolution. I understand the bankruptcy is arguably some sort of negative act, but it's also the path towards some sort of resolution to the underlying matter and hopefully getting the customers, particularly the earned customers, back some of their funds.
And I've been just checking out Twitter, and some of the reactions are pretty intense. I mean, there are quite a lot of people losing money. There's quite a lot of people who are quite jaded, and I know you're a lawyer yourself, but they're saying the only people who are benefiting from crypto are the bankruptcy lawyers.
I'm not sure if that's true. That's like saying the only people who benefited from the internet during the dot-com bubble were the bankruptcy lawyers. The companies that survive will thrive and innovate. It's just a question of and to say it interestingly, to eliminate the riffraff and to have the current financial services infrastructure in the crypto space replaced by a regulated financial services infrastructure under the securities laws.
So what does that look like? Like how can we clean up this space? That's really what we're talking about.
As Chairman Gensler has discussed, and as has always been the case, many of these actions that financial intermediaries are offering securities products or should be registered under the securities laws. And operating in a gray area has allowed them to potentially benefit in the business sense at the expense of their customers. And really, the only way for Web3 to move forward on the financial services side is to do it in a regulated manner under the federal securities laws, which have been tried and tested over 90 years or so.
So look, we've got about a minute left, and we're definitely going to get more into detail, especially with Gemini and their Earn product. But why is it taking these regulators so long? How many people need to declare bankruptcy before they do something?
I don't think it's necessarily taken the regulators so long. I think that people conducted business activities that were arguably outside the regulatory norms that existed. And just because you do something doesn't mean the law doesn't apply. You don't say, you don't get to choose which laws applies. The securities laws arguably always applied. And now we're seeing the effects of the excessive innovation without regulation coming to a head here. But what we'll see going forward and what will end the crypto winter is a regulated financial services infrastructure for crypto, whether that's an ATS, an exchange, or a special purpose broker dealer on the custodian side.